This African genius is secretly turning old cars into new modern vehicles.
That's what our Voltarent ECU does to the old engines.
Had been limited by my use of carburetor vehicles.
So yes, you have 60s, 50s, 70s, 80s, 90s engines that now can perform like a modern engine.
I had changed the carburetor 3 times, and the third one was really consuming. I spent almost 13,000, 11 to 13,000 on fuel, and with a regular vehicle, I spent about 5,000. Any make I called was not able to solve that issue, so I parked the vehicle for almost a year until I met Peter through a mutual friend.
If not for this man, these vehicles would become relics. But for Gearhead, this man is the reason they can enjoy older vehicles. He's a savior.
Back in the years, this was the improved version of the carburetor. At that time, it was efficient. But as time has gone by, getting original, genuine spares for the FD has become quite a challenge.
When we met, he explained to me what he does, but a lot of people have stories. So he invited me over, and I came and I saw what he does, and I was able to be driven in one of the vehicles that he had just fixed at the time.
So what is happening is you're looking at live engine data, okay? And when you rev it a bit, you can see the RPM increases, and of course the fueling parameters increases at the same time. And this is the data that I need when I'm tuning it or when I'm troubleshooting it. So this tells me a lot.
This car here is a brand new vehicle on the inside. Nothing may look different outside, but this car is as good as modernized and new. It performed 5 kilometers per liter before and now consumes a massive 14 kilometers per the same liter, which is insane.
First of all, it's an affordable conversion compared to how much I was spending on mechanics and on fuel. I'm sure even how much I spend on this, within 4 months, I will have recovered that based on the amount I will have saved on fuel.
The secret is this African genius and his proprietary technology, the Voltarent ECU, which he designed himself.
My name is Peter Mbiria, founder of Voltarent Engineering Limited. I'm a local, born in Thika.
It's a real-life changer built by 34-year-old Kenyan engineer Peter Mbiria, whose passion and ingenuity are rewriting the rules of automotive history.
So this is a W123 with an M102 2.3-liter engine. And originally it came with this Bosch K-Jetronic system. You can see it has mechanical fuel injectors, more or less like the diesel. At that time, they were being made back in the years. This system was very efficient. But 40 years later, you don't get proper kit to rebuild this FD system. So what you find is you normally have hard starts or even high fuel consumption because of this FD system. So what we do at Voltarent is take out this FD system and then we modernize it. We add fuel injectors, custom fuel rail, of course fuel regulator, and where we had the lead wires. This is responsible for the sparking in the spark plugs. We remove this and instead we replace them with colon plugs, individual colon plugs, meaning each spark plug has got its own ignition coil. So you have pop there because now this is an inline 4. And after this, there is now a custom harness that now goes to the ECU that is inside the engine control unit. And then we control it and it runs the engine. So it runs the engine as a modern engine. So we do away with the old system and in with the new system for more performance, better fuel economy and reliability.
Carburetors were popular during the 80s and 90s. They mixed fuel and air to power engines. But as environmental concerns grew and technology advanced, car makers began to fade out carburetors.
So this is the Bosch K-Jetronic system. This is what we call the FD or the fuel distributor. It's just the buffer plate and the rest. And back in the years, this was the improved version of the carburetor. So it was in between the carburetor and the EFI system. So it was in between. So it was electromechanical. Part of it was purely mechanical. Part of it was electrical. It had even this electrical injector for cold starts. At that time, it was efficient. But as time has gone by, getting original, genuine spares for the FD has become quite a challenge. You see, my background is in electrical and electronics engineering, where we learn how to design motherboards. Okay, we have basics of electronics like Class A amplifiers, Class B, Class C. Okay, and we learn about different laws, Kirchhoff's laws, and that just explain about loads on PCBs or printed circuit boards. We know how to design circuits, so we are able to create custom motherboards from scratch without issues. About Voltarent Engineering Limited, what is it all about? Basically, it's all about research and development, and we have a couple of innovations under our company. The latest being vehicle ECUs. What I mean by that is engine control units, or ECM's engine control modules. What they do is just control how an engine runs. And the reason as to which or why we began working on vehicle ECUs is the fact that I owned, or I still own, a Mercedes-Benz 1984 model W201. And when I purchased it, it was still carbureted. I used it for like 2-3 years, and I had tinkered with it to a point where I couldn't get more out of it. With a carburetor, I had learned that you can either tune it for fuel economy or performance. Okay, if you tune it for fuel economy specifically, you lose on performance. If you tune it for performance, you lose on economy. You had to, get a middle ground on your tuning, so you couldn't get best of both worlds. And after 3 years, I was like, do we have other solutions out there that could help me achieve the fuel economy and performance at the same time? So of course, the immediate solution, what majority of people do, is swap the engine out with the successor. In my case, you take out the M102 engine that is on the W201, and you install the successor, which was the M111 engine. Okay, and bearing in mind I had overhauled my M102 engine, I couldn't go back and spend another 100k plus Kenya shillings to purchase another engine. So the option of swapping the engine was out. And then I was like, what else can I do? The immediate or the other solution was to use the Bosch Cagetronic system, which was more powerful than the carburetor. But the challenge was getting quality parts for the FD system was a challenge. And the stories I've had with the majority of people who have used the Bosch Cagetronic system is getting the spares is a nightmare. And when the system fails in the middle of the road, you have to tow that car.
This left a problem. Peter turned this temperamental, inefficient, and frankly outdated system into modern, fuel-efficient systems. Like many pioneers, he started as a tinkerer, fascinated by the inner workings of machines.
So now what I'm doing at the moment is reading all the sensory data, okay? Because for the EFI system, it needs a couple of inputs. For instance, there's the temperature sensor, there's the camshaft position sensor, we have the map sensor behind there, and then we have the throttle position sensor. Okay.
So long before he became renowned for transforming old vehicles, he spent countless hours driven by a simple idea: no engine is too old to be reborn.
So what makes the Voltarent ECU different is the fact that it's designed from scratch with a focus on running the old engines. It doesn't mean it won't run a modern engine, no. But the main focus is to be minimalistic, okay? It doesn't need many of the sensors to make the engine run. It just needs very few but key sensors. For instance, engine temperature, the manifold absolute pressure, camshaft position, okay? Specifically camshaft, and throttle position. That's it. Of course, I have not mentioned oxygen sensors, I have not mentioned NOx sensors, I have not mentioned crankshaft sensors, I have not mentioned like even oil pressure, fuel pressure. There are so many sensors, okay? In our case, we just reduce the number of sensors to bare minimum, enough to make the engine run reliably. Okay, you're looking at live engine data. Okay, and when you rev it a bit, you can see the RPM increases, and of course the fueling parameters increases at the same time. And this is the data that I need when I'm tuning it or when I'm troubleshooting it. So this tells me a lot, which is very useful for the ECU.
And the proof is in the performance. With advanced algorithms and real-time monitoring, his ECU fine-tunes the engine's every move.
So I come here on my laptop because I just need to extract the data engine run data on the laptop. So I turn it on. The ECU is ready to start the engine. So I go back inside and crank it. Like so.
Peter's vision goes beyond performance. He's determined to tackle the environmental drawbacks of old engines.
My dreams is to go fully global. I believe there are millions of these vehicles around the world, and due to climate change, of course, I would want to contribute, lower the emissions. And that's part of the reason as to why I'm pushing this issue out there, because it allows the old generation engines to lower the emissions to modern standards. Okay, what the government categorizes as good or acceptable emissions, that's what our Voltarent ECU does to the old engines. So yes, you have 60s, 50s, 70s, 80s, 90s engines that now can perform like a modern engine. These carburetors were good when they were being used back in the days, back in 80s, 90s. These systems were pretty good because their work was to just mix air and fuel. That time there were no strict fuel guidelines. They were not as strict, not like nowadays. And so as time went on, they moved away from the carburetors to now fuel injection.
And indeed, drivers who once struggled with poor mileage now report improvements that would have been unimaginable in the past. One local driver, Peter Mbiria, a farmer and traveler, now enjoys good mileage.
First of all, it's an affordable conversion compared to how much I was spending on mechanics and on fuel. I'm sure even how much I spend on this, within 4 months, I will have recovered that based on the amount I will have saved on fuel.
Now, with proper fuel metering comes fuel economy, okay? At the same time, when you don't need the computer to feed fuel to the engine, it doesn't. For instance, when you've accelerated, you're cruising, and then you let go of the acceleration, the computer will notice the engine is no longer loaded. So what it does is it cuts off the fuel completely until now the engine RPMs goes low to a certain, maybe up to idle RPMs. That's when now it starts adding fuel so that the engine doesn't store. Okay, so there are so many occasions where the computer will shut off the fuel so that now you try to get better fuel economy without affecting the performance. So the performance comes out where fuel is delivered at the right time and it gets the right ignition at the right time. Now you can produce more power. The main features that the Voltarent ECU introduces to the old engines is the fact that now the owner will get to define how they want their engine to run through the drive modes. So stock, it comes with 4 drive modes. It has the Eco Plus, that is the least, it's the leanest, okay, and it's best for cruising. Then you have economy. Economy is the most balanced, okay? So it gives you better fuel economy, at the same time gives you a feel of performance, because even on a fuel economy, you can easily hit 140 or 150 kph, okay? Then you have comfort. Comfort is slightly more powerful than fuel economy, meaning it gives you that oomph during acceleration. And it doesn't mean now that it's comfort, it will consume a lot more. No. just slightly more, just a bit, okay? Also depends on your driving style. And then the last one, we have Sport. And Sport squeezes everything out of that engine, okay? If the engine at any one time could produce 200 brake horsepower, it will try to produce that 200 horsepower at any one time, okay? Even if the manufacturer specified that this engine is 120, the computer can squeeze easily 160, 180 out of it because of the precise fuel metering and ignition.
At the core of Peter's transformation is this Voltarent ECU. Unlike generic solutions, this standalone device is engineered to handle the unique demands of classic engines.
The computer is able to meter fuel precisely, the amount of fuel the engine needs at any one time, okay? And it calculates the amount of fuel the engine needs for every cylinder, okay? At the same time, it calculates the ignition angle for every cylinder. What that means is at any one time, it's striving to produce the best or the most power out of that engine, of course, based on the selected drive mode.
Innovation is rarely a smooth road, and Peter's journey is one of resilience. There were moments of doubt, long hours spent troubleshooting, and countless prototypes that didn't make the cut.
I bought a guinea pig engine, and that engine I was to use it for research purposes. So I began designing my own board to control just fuel delivery, okay? But then one thing led to another, so I would achieve fuel delivery. But for it to be efficient, I wanted now to do a little bit more. For instance, use different injectors. I had started with Nissan Tida. I went and tried using Toyota, and then I settled on Mercedes-Benz injectors. I was just doing research. That's all about research, okay? Trying out different things until you get the one that works. And then I got to the point where now I am required to control ignition, okay? Because with fuel delivery alone, you still don't have full control of the engine. So I wanted to control the ignition. So I began researching on which is the best ignition coil to use. What are the characteristics of the ignition coil? Like deeper details like dwell times and voltage and all those things I had to learn and design my ECU accordingly, because now I settled on denser column plugs.
Peter not only solved long-standing issues, but also improved the entire driving experience.
So on April 2022, I migrated the system from the guinea pig engine to my W201 MR2 engine, okay? And the moment I hit the road and posted the video, people were like, oh, so this thing was actually doable. Because during the process of research, people are just like, this is just another random guy trying to tinker with things. Well, until they saw the vehicle on the road and they were like, oh, this guy was serious, okay? And people beginning questioning about, okay, now that we have seen it's running, what are the costs, the reliability, such kind of things.
For many Kenyan drivers, other vehicles are more than just modes of transportation. They are cherished memories, family heirlooms, and symbols of a past era. Stephen Mbugwa, a farmer with a passion for travel, had long been frustrated by the high fuel consumption and frequent breakdowns of his carbureted vehicle.
I spent almost 13,000, 11 to 13,000 on fuel, and with a regular vehicle, I spent about 5,000.
Some of the customers get their returns on investments almost immediately, because most of them, the vehicles come on flatbed. So the vehicle drives out on its own, that's immediate plus, okay?
There are those whose vehicles are driving, but they perform poorly in terms of fuel economy. For instance, the Land Rover that I've just shown you came doing 1.8 kilometers per liter. And as we speak right now, it's doing 6 to 8 kilometers a liter. Mind you, there's a 3.9 V8. Jumping from 1.8 kilometers per liter to 8 is a big deal, okay? And that's per liter, not per full tank. Per liter. Now imagine per full tank, how many kilometers you have added on it, okay? So the return on investment, like the Land Rover owner will recoup his investment very fast. If he uses the vehicle daily, less than a month, he would have recouped his investment.
From his humble beginnings as a young person fascinated by the inner working of machines to his current status as a trailblazer in automotive engineering, his journey is a source of inspiration for anyone who dares to dream big.
So what inspired me is the fact that I had that problem personally, okay? I've had the carburetor and I've tweaked the carburetor to a point where I knew I could no longer add value to it. So that really gave me that morale to develop my own solution, my own problem. Well, until other customers came and be like, yeah, we have the same problem, can you sort us out? But what motivated me was my own problem, the problem that I had and wanted to solve.
In a world where new is often equated with better, Peter challenges that notion by showing that with the right innovation, even an engine from decades past can compete with the latest technology.
Anyone can do so. It doesn't matter wherever you are, Zambia, Canada, Pakistan. Well, so long as we have shipping couriers over there, yes, I can ship out the system and can guide you or can provide remote assistance until the engine runs.
Peter remains dedicated to proving that every engine, no matter how old, has the potential to be reborn.
So in most cases, we have to use existing engines, okay? Mostly like the M102s, we have many samples of M102s. So when we send the kits out, we need to first know what kind of setup does the client have. We don't just sell it, okay? Because now it will be a nightmare for them when they get a kit that is not compatible with their engine. So we need to know which engine is it. Do we have a custom kit for that engine? If yes, we ship. If no, can we design? Can we ask for specific parameters? For instance, what's the spacing between the injectors or the fuel rails, okay? What's the spacing? That is key. So after we get all those details, we can customize a kit and then we can send it out.
When you see an old car cruising down the road, remember the man behind the magic.
And my YouTube channel is Peter Mbiria, or you can search Voltarent. Voltarent meaning voltage and current combined. Voltarent Engineering Limited. You can search it online or just Google my name. You'll get Facebook profile, Instagram profile, TikTok, YouTube, and all the other innovations I've done in my previous years. All the places I've gone to present and other articles that have been done abroad.
Nameless Campus was here, and this is Afrimax English. Remember to subscribe and share Peter's story with the world.